This is when you should be waving your flags, Grant.
God damn it. The roster, it's still the preseason roster. So I can't do anything
Still would
yet,
have liked some
but I
flag
will.
waving.
You know what you can do in post is put in the flags waving on the screen. I'll put my hands up and you can insert waving flags right here.
So much
There you
work.
go.
Okay. We'll find out if I do that in the future. Future LT, we'll see
Future
what you
LT,
do.
do it.
Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news and commentary on the NWSL Chicago Red Stars. I'm your host, LT.
And I'm your co-host, Grant.
And Grant, I am loving that we get to start these episodes off with good news recently. But unfortunately, we have to begin with some sad news that does have a happy ending. Emily Boyd, who has been a keeper with Chicago since 2018, has called it a career and decided to retire last week. Emily made 23 appearances across all competitions for the club in her 6 years. In her last professional season, she had 5 starts, 4 clean sheets, 21 saves, saved a PK that got her save of the week, or at least nominated. She was named to the NWSL Best 11 for July. She had a hell of a final season, but a career with many injuries and no clear path to being a starting keeper, plus, other things that I'm sure led to her decision. It's not a complete surprise, but a surprise nonetheless. However, Emily should be very proud of the career that she had, I think. It's not easy to make it to the pros, let alone sustain a career for one club for 6 seasons. So, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see her retiring, but I'm glad we got to watch her play soccer, and I'm glad that she could fulfill a dream of hers of playing in the pros.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting move. I also didn't expect it, but I like what you said before with like not really a clear path to starting. I think it would be impossible for her to try and move overseas since she's getting married. Um, might as well retire if you think that's what's best for yourself. I just wish that we got to see a little more action and goal for Emily Boyd in Chicago, but this is Nair Nation, so it's really really tough. But I think she had a heck of a career, and it's just another person leaving Chicago, which sucks because I know that she's a fan favorite and a great personality in the locker room. She's gonna be dearly missed, but yeah, I hope she enjoys her retirement.
Yeah, she really did have like a career where whenever she was called upon, like she stepped up to do her job. And she never did it poorly, which was always a nice thing to have a solid backup keeper. The um the interesting part and that you had pointed out was that she's getting married. She actually did get married this weekend. So congratulations to her and her husband. I saw a couple of former Red Stars at their wedding, including Danny Colaprico and Kalia Watt. And I'm sure more pictures will kind of come out. We'll see more familiar faces celebrating their friend and their teammate. So congratulations to her on both her wedding and her career.
I didn't know that it was this weekend that it was happening.
Yeah, I saw a few posts on social. I caught Kalia Watts initially that she was there.
Yeah, I think
So
I might have seen that. I kind of just like skipped past it though. I was like, oh, JJ Watt, Cleo Watt.
so there it
Okay.
is. Unfortunately, like I one of her closer friends on the team is Mal, and Mal's in training, so she couldn't go to the wedding apparently. So that's unfortunate that she couldn't be there for her friend. But I'm sure they, it's an interesting way to call it a career and then immediately get married that weekend. I don't know if it kind of played a factor in it. Her husband plays in the NFL over in Baltimore, so I'm curious if distance mattered or anything. It's none of our business, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, congratulations to her and her husband, and we'll miss her in Chicago. And it is unfortunate that we didn't get to kind of see more of her throughout her career, not just in Chicago, but anywhere else. Like it would have been nice to see her play for another team and actually get a lot more minutes, because you're not going to be able to challenge Nair for minutes. It's just not going to happen here in Chicago.
The unfortunate truth.
Now we can move on to some good club news. I had the
Times two.
opportunity times two.
Well, if we're gonna talk about later with the Gold Cup, I would say that'd be times two.
We
Good
we will
news.
talk. We'll talk about more,
Times two.
but we will move on to this. I had the opportunity to join the media call with two new players to the club, Maxi Rall and Natalia Kuikka.
Can we
I
add
asked,
LT famous at the in the post
nope,
production?
that's not happening. You and the rest of the Discord.
I know, I had to bring it up just because,
Well, they'll get a kick
you
out of
know,
it. Thank you.
we were gonna do it later. Okay.
I asked them a few questions each. We'll just kind of just discuss the topics that were covered overall in the whole presser that all the questions that everyone asked. Starting with why each of those players chose Chicago. I had asked Natalia Kuikka what the whole free agency process was like for her.
Long. It was definitely long. I was pretty honest with Portland at the time that I also do want to look into other possibilities and that I haven't like set anything in stone. So, but yeah, I'm I've played in Portland for 3 years, so there's points I was like maybe I want to see something different, and then obviously traveling with national team, it's a quite brutal 16-hour flight from Portland to Europe. So obviously I'm not getting any younger. So kind of like looking into that and trying to find something maybe that's closer that will like really benefit of the jet lag and just how my body reacts to flying. So kind of like all that considered, and then just you know, feeling valued and making sure that I find a spot that's good for me, and obviously not just for me and my family. So and then I think Chicago's and my are like what we wanted was aligning. So at the end of the day, it felt like an easy choice. I was ready to like start something new and see something else. So with Chicago, I think kind of starting fresh with the almost a brand new team and new staff and owners and all that. So it was appealing, and like starting something fresh, being part of the something new and rebuilding.
So it was interesting to hear some of what factored into her decision was location based. I know it's not uncommon for players to pick a team kind of just based on its location as one of the reasons, but to hear a player talk about like the travel distances and the impact of jet lag um, playing a factor in where they wanted their kind of home base to be, I thought was really fascinating to me. And Natalia mentioning that Chicago, like 16-hour flight from Portland to go play in Finland. It's better in Chicago to get there. So I thought that was an interesting point to make when deciding where you wanted to be in free agency.
We also have a hell of a international airport.
It's true. That is a good point.
I'm like half joking because O'Hare's not my favorite place in the world, but you know, it's got the pretty lights.
When you're just walking down, you look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chardonnay and the Sydney were in O'Hare recently, and I saw their story, and that's what it reminded me of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that got the pretty lights and the weird objects hanging up in O'Hare. But besides that, I mean, rebuilding is also what's happening, and she's down for that, which is nice to hear. It's again, like we've repetitively said on this show, hearing that anyone wants to be a Chicago Red Star is just music to our ears. It's just perfect, you know, and it's all coming together. And then when the opening matches are happening, we're gonna just have more excitement, and it's just gonna be so awesome. But just to hear it repeated again, the the factor of wanting to be in Chicago and to be a Red Star is just nice to hear an oppressor as well.
Yeah, I agree. I like hearing that from all of the new players. Especially because a lot of them came in free agency. It's not something we're kind of used to. So um, I like that it's a big factor in players' decisions is just playing in Chicago and wanting to be here. So it's not like a last choice destination for them or anything. The player on the other side was Maxi Rall, and she spoke a lot about wanting something new in her career, but her conversations with some familiar names are what kind of led her to choose Chicago.
I just want to see something new, a new league. I played a long time in Germany, and it's enough. I want to see something new. I talked a lot with Babette. I mean, yeah, she's also German, and we knew each other a bit. So I talked a lot with her, and she told me about the project. Everything is new team, new stuff, and so it's a start from the bottom, I think, and it's interesting to build something up from there. It's easier if you talk to someone who's also coming from my country and also played somewhere else than in Germany, and she gave me some advice and said that it's always nice to see something else. It brings you forward in every way, also not only football, just also personally. And I also talked to Sandra Starke. She was here last season for a few months, and she also told me about the club and about the city. She liked it a lot, and I talked to her, and yeah, of course, I think Chicago, the name Chicago, it's a big city, so a big adventure, and yeah, that's reason enough to be here.
In her initial statement when the club had signed her, she said that she was just a girl from Germany who wanted to play in America. And I think her statement here kind of piggybacked on that. I also found it fun that she spoke to Sandra Stark about her experience here, and it helped in her making her decision to make Chicago her home. So if Maxi works out, thank you, Sandra. You know?
And I think it's interesting that you know, she wasn't even here for that long. She was here on loan, and I know the whole visa thing was interesting for her to go through. But I mean, you got someone that wasn't here for that long, and they're like, "Hey, Chicago, 2 thumbs up."
Yeah, I think you see
Perfect.
that a lot with um, Chicago athletes in general and across all sports. Even if players are on any of the professional teams here for a year, they always are like recruiting players to go to Chicago, even if they're not on the team anymore. They're always like setting up their charity work back in Chicago when their careers are over. It's just like a destination city that athletes love to remain, even if it's just a pit stop in their career. And so to hear that Sandra Stark, who was just here for a few months, was willing to talk up her experience in a club that was obviously different than it is now, like different coaches, different owner, different everything, different players, to still speak highly of Chicago to the point where Maxi felt um, that it was a good place to choose her next path in her career. I think is really important just to know. So I'm glad that she said that.
And a lot of people always talk about wanting to play in the NWSL, or like putting the NWSL as like the best league, which, you know, I don't want to get canceled on freaking Twitter with a rankings or whatever. But I will say, because I'm a very passionate individual, that I do believe that the NWSL is the best women's soccer league in the world. And so, new challenge in Rall's career. I mean, Red Stars, again, rebuilding team, kind of like a perfect match, especially for a challenge accepted. And I'm just excited to see, you know, what her role is going to be on the team, and just how everything shapes up in the next month.
Yeah, the in another part of the press conference, Kuikka was asked about just like the um, general like decisions that are being made like within preseason. And she just kind of mentioned, she was like, we're kind of like working things out, trying new things, new like people are doing different positions, that kind of stuff. It didn't sound like anything's like set in stone. So we'll kind of figure out what kind of happens at the beginning of the season, because clearly they're not going to give anything up here in these
Top secret.
in these little media availabilities. But something that I was curious to ask Natalia about was her statement initially when the club had signed her. She mentioned wanting to come to Chicago because of their approach to rebuilding trust with the fans. So I asked her about why that was so important to her.
Obviously, coming from Portland, there's no denying they have one of the greatest fans in the world, and having that support in every game behind you, it does give so much energy, and just so much that does make you feel like you're playing for something bigger. And so obviously coming here and wanting to have that with our fans as well, I do want them to be heard as well, and then kind of them able to like bring their love for the game to us, and then like cohesively it's gonna make everybody better. So I think that's something that I really value. In
I think the answer I was expecting was something similar to what she said, and I'm glad that she's had the experience of living week after week playing in front of thousands of fans in Portland, because if she believes Chicago can kind of get to that level, maybe not of attendance but just crowd energy in general, I'm all for that. And I admire her confidence in that. I'm glad that she mentioned wanting the fans to have a voice and feeling like they're being heard, because the energy that a crowd can really fuel players, we've all seen it before. So I hope Chicago shows up for Natalia and kind of proves her right in that. And I hope that the new ownership has their ears open to what fans are telling them, because you know that hasn't always been the case in the past. So
Yeah, I mean, but Chicago fans also don't have a problem with being loud with their opinions and all of that, especially with the sell the team campaign.
Yep.
But playing in front of thousands and thousands of fans in Providence Park and then coming to play, and God only knows how many people are going to show up to Bridgeview this season for the Red Stars. That's quite the change. And it could be a little daunting, I guess, to go from seeing all these people to being like, I don't know how many people are going to show up to watch our game. But I really hope that there can be like a supporter section just dedicated to her to really show up, like you said, because she seems really passionate, not only playing on the field but also interacting with people in the stands, which is such a huge part of I guess soccer in the States, is the supporter connection. So I think we'll need to get like a huge ass Finland flag and have someone waving it the whole game and
Yeah, absolutely.
having that kind of energy for her, because she has that energy for the Red Stars. So yeah, we'll see if we can get the entire Finnish population of Illinois to just come out and
Wouldn't that be
to
lovely?
see.
I agree with you. Like I really do admire her passion for the sport, but also her recognition of like that fans have the same passion for it as she does. Um, she loves soccer. We love soccer, and she knows the importance that fans bring to the game. And I hope that Chicago can be there for her and show her that we are the team and the sports city that she believes that we can be.
Gotta get the tifo ready. I'll be a part of that. I'll paint something, even though I'm not artistic at all.
Don't ask me. I'm not artistic either. So in speaking to them, I will also never miss an opportunity to ask players about Alyssa Nair, mostly because I'm sure she doesn't want to hear the praise, but she deserves to hear how much she's respected by those she fights alongside each and every day, each and every week.
She has a lot of wisdom. I can tell that she's been around this like soccer world for a while at that. And then obviously like playing at Kirsta, you can just see the calmness that she has, and that she knows she's good, but it's not like pushing it to the everybody. She's like really composed and wants to help everybody on the team. So you can really tell like the first week with Alyssa. Yeah, you can really say, and she's wise. She always gives you pointers what you can do better, and so it's definitely good to be around good leaders.
I'm excited to play with a legendary goalkeeper like her. Everybody knows her name. Also in Germany, we know her, but I never met her personally. So yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward.
I love Alyssa. Everyone knows this. It's not a secret, but
Just get it tatted on you already,
she's a legend, and everyone should always publicly state how amazing they think that she is, because she won't be on the pitch forever. And I hope that she knows that the legacy that she'll leave behind after her last match in that kit will be everlasting, both on the fans, but also the players. Every single player that goes into that locker room has some sort of praise for her, whether they played with her for 10 years or 1 year or a few months. So I like to I just wanted to ask them because I just like to hear. I just hope I want her to know how important she is to the players around her. And I'm sure they tell her the same thing, but it's fun to hear sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, she's captain for a reason, so, that she's a fantastic leader, great person, is gonna kick ass in goal this year with some great defense, and, hopefully we'll stop all the PKs that she faces. Just
Yeah,
gonna put
too
all these
many.
positive things into existence now
Let's draw
to get
more
ready for
fouls.
later. Yeah.
Give up less.
But yeah, she does need to hear it more, and that's the second TIFO idea. Local 134. You're welcome, by the way, for all these ideas. Anyway,
So
enough sarcasm for me.
okay. So the last
Like,
thing asked in the presser was about kind of like the overall feeling of the preseason. Obviously, Maxi's only been here for like no more than 2 or 3 trainings. So Natalia, she was in Florida only for the last week of the camp down there, but she did share her thoughts on kind of what the club has learned so far this preseason.
Definitely the camp in Florida gave us a direction where to go and what we need to improve of. So don't want to share too much, but obviously those things are the ones that we want to focus on, and kind of like the overall game, because we do have a lot of new players. So kind of get those chemistries going and kind of knowing what each other wants and prefers on the field, so we can make those connections happen. But yeah, it's been nice the week that I've played here. So we're definitely heading to the right direction.
Room for improvement, as expected. Kuikka, thinks things are going well. Things are building. It's exciting to hear that she's excited. But like we said earlier, they're keeping a tight lid on everything that's kind of going on in these trainings. So I didn't know what we would expect in that presser to get out of them, but it clearly wasn't going to be any details.
like, we're not gonna have a Tom Holland situation of giving up information. Like, we're
Right.
not gonna do that. But I think, with any team that has a bajillion newcomers, like, things aren't going to mesh well right away. You got to figure out everybody's play styles and how well everyone gets along with one another, and having the team bonding and all of that. So things take time, and that's like another theme, I guess, is patience, and having that, and reminding yourself to have patience. So again, we'll learn soon-ish if all this stuff works out, or not. So time will tell.
Um it's kind of the one reason why I miss the Challenge Cup being at the beginning of the season. Was these teams had so much time to experience like full on game action with the
Mm-hmm.
players that they wanted to be in their starting 11, or thought should be in their starting 11, and could get a bunch of minutes together before any of it actually really mattered. Obviously the issues with injuries and playing that much soccer before the soccer that actually counted was a big factor, of the Challenge Cup really not existing anymore, other than it being one game. But it's just hard to know what all of these new players are going to be like when you just trot them out there the first game of the season. We don't know what the chemistry will be like. We don't know how they're going to read each other. We don't know what positions they're going to be playing. So, like I said, we're trying our best to get that information, but it's not gonna come out until we see it on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate that preseason is kept under wraps, and it's not even just Chicago, it's other teams too, but I'm not going to go into that today. Sharing is caring sometimes. I will say sometimes, because sometimes it's not okay to share. But I feel like in this case, I think there's no point of keeping things under wraps. If a rookie or an NRI scores a goal, I feel like, we should know about that and the
Yeah.
potential of having like a new fan favorite or something, or, like at the end of the day, you're competing for a roster spot. So I feel like even though they're not part of your roster yet, you should still be showing us like this is what's happening right now. This is not like secret spy stuff or like spy versus spy if you know that reference. Um but yeah, I think let the people know what's up.
Yeah,
Don't be like
I
Gotham and
I
make
just want to
Florida State
know.
take their post down.
I want to know what the scores of those scrimmages were. It's we're
Yeah, it's like
naturally a
when
curious species. We want to know these things.
it's like when they play Purdue in Iowa, like are we gonna know about that? Or are these schools gonna put on their socials about that stuff? Like I feel like we should be in the know. I feel like that's also like extremely selfish of us, but like
Oh, it
we
is.
are
So, I mean,
fans. It's what we need.
we have no right to demand any of this, but it would just
We're
be
starting a
nice.
petition.
It would just be nice to have just a highlight of a goal or two. Like
Yeah,
that would
like
be cool. I like the passing
mhm.
highlights, sure, but the goals would be cool if any
Just
have been scored. We don't even know if any
yeah,
have been scored.
to bring it to men's soccer for a second, the Chicago Fire have been giving us, tidbits of preseason. I know that some of the games weren't available to watch, with the Coachella Invitational and all that. Um, if that's happening, if the Chicago Fire, who are winning preseason games, by the way, that is chaos in itself. If they are doing this, I feel like the Red Stars should be showing off because we have criminally underrated players on the team. And to not show that off should be a crime. Like, show off the talent that is on. Okay, I'm not going to say roster because the roster isn't done. That is in preseason.
Camp roster.
Camp roster. Just add another word in front.
Preseason roster.
Preseason roster. Show us what's happening. You'll get more interactions that way online too. That's a helpful tip.
I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's just something we don't know about. That's some rule or something. I don't know. I
No,
don't know
there
because
couldn't be.
I don't know. Well, let's move on.
Okay. The whole episode will not be about this
No.
topic.
But what our next topic will be is, as of this recording, Chicago Red Stars Jill Aguilera of Puerto Rico and Sam Fisher of El Salvador competed in the preliminary rounds of the CONCACAF W Gold Cup and helped both of their teams advance to the group stages of the tournament, which is
This is when you add in the
brilliant.
MLG horn.
I'm not going to do that. This is when you should be waving your flags, Grant.
God damn it. The roster, it's still the preseason roster. So I can't do anything
Still would
yet,
have liked some
but I
flag
will.
waving.
You know what you can do in post is put in the flags waving on the screen. I'll put my hands up and you can insert waving flags right here.
It's so much
There you
work.
go.
Okay. We'll find out if I do that in the future. Future LT, we'll see
Future
what you
LT,
do.
do it.
So Jill and Puerto Rico were up against the number one seeded Haiti, who caught the eyes of many around the world with their play at the World Cup And even though Haiti seemed to dominate possession, Puerto Rico found a way to draw a PK. And in the 41st minute, Jill herself would be called upon to take this PK and buried it into the back of the net. A goal that would end up being the game winner in a 1-0 victory over Haiti. And with that win, Puerto Rico will join the group of Brazil, Panama, and Colombia in the next stage, the group stage, with their first match being against Brazil, taking place on February 21st at 9:15 p.m. Central Time on Paramount Plus. So let's go support Jill, the pride of Puerto Rico, and Red Stars midfielder Julia Bianchi, who will be on the other side of the pitch for Brazil.
Oh no. Who to pick for?
I hope they
who to
both
root for?
succeed.
I just hope both teams have fun.
No. Yeah, I don't know who I'm rooting for in that. Obviously, Puerto Rico is kind of I mean, they
Go for the
were,
underdog.
yeah, they were not expected to even beat Haiti. Brazil is a little bit of a powerhouse, but
Just a little.
if they can beat Haiti, who they were not expected to beat, who says that they can't beat Brazil? A lot of people, I'm sure, but I I think they can at least kind of, give them a little bit of hell. It'd be fun
You
to
know
see.
what? They have a fantastic goalkeeper though.
Oh my God, yeah, they do. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Like I remember watching the USLW League final between Tormenta FC and Minnesota Aurora.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah,
That
and
was her.
yes. So if you watch that game and then you watch this game, like what a beautiful, beautiful example of an on the rise goalie.
Yeah,
Like,
Martinez.
yes.
Fantastic keeper. She was,
Like my mouth was just wide open during that jaw dropped watching that final a few years ago because of course I was rooting for Aurora because I'm a part owner. But don't laugh.
I'm not.
Gave my $100, like
Oh,
support a new club. But like that's just generational talent. And I honestly think that she could stop that Brazil squad. And I'm just gonna end with that.
yeah, I was very impressed with her. Um, I don't remember her total saves. I think it was like 13 or 14
A
in
lot.
one match. A lot plus a PK save, which I don't think should have been a PK, but ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie.
Ball don't lie. So on the same day, Sam Fisher, another Red Star, recently made the jump to international competition, getting called into a camp for El Salvador recently. And then this latest call up came with the opportunity for Sam to see her first cap at the international level. And not only did Sam get the opportunity to see the pitch, but she was in that starting lineup. And she was just a nuisance to Guatemala's back line all match, as she played at the top of the forward line, which I did not expect to see Sam Fisher playing center forward. But 5'6" Sam Fisher was a giant amongst them, which was just fantastic to see because you see her play, domestically with the Red Stars, and she's not the shortest person on the pitch, but she's not, the tallest. And to kind of see her playing center forward out there, like muscling people and getting by them, it was so cool to see. She didn't well, she finished the competition without scoring a goal, but she came close several times, even hit the crossbar once. But nonetheless, El Salvador won the match 3-1 over Guatemala to advance to the group stage where they'll play Canada, Paraguay, and Costa Rica. And Canada is their first match on February 22nd at 8 p.m. Central Time on Paramount Plus. So once again, let's go support another Red Star in the Gold Cup. Got a lot of them out there. 4 teams in the Gold Cup, 4 of the 12 have Red Stars on them, which is pretty awesome.
Beautiful to see.
And kind of watching Sam and Jill play so freely and, you know, as 2 players who are now kind of becoming stars on their respective teams, like it made me really happy to see that. And I hope playing internationally has given Jill and Sam a lot of confidence going into NWSL competition. Obviously, they can still, or obviously, they still have games to play in the Gold Cup that can continue to build that confidence. But I'm really excited to watch them play more as 2 players who don't see a whole lot of minutes domestically, or at least last year. They didn't, but kind of just watching them both play, both get 90s or close to 90s is just, I don't know. I like it a lot. It's cool to see players represent countries that aren't the US as well. Like we've been so used to that over the years. That's just kind of cool to become fans of other teams as well. Like I was looking at those El Salvador kits, and
They're clean.
I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I do have some kits in my cart that I have not clicked purchase yet.
Are they customizable?
No, they're not.
Oh,
Unfortunately, that's kind of why I'm a little hesitant with it. But
you need the fisher on the back, and
mhm,
those are really clean though. Like,
they are. I like Puerto Rico's too, with the
yeah.
stripe diagonal, like offset stripes. They look really
Mm-hmm.
cool. I really like them. Their third kit's like black and gold too. I noticed when I was looking.
Oh,
I haven't seen
I
those
haven't seen
yet.
that.
Yeah, I'll show you after we're done recording. But that look pretty cool.
Nobody else gets to see it, just us. Go look on your own, guys.
Yeah, go look it up. I'm too lazy to put it up on the screen. I already have to make a flag waving. But obviously we have more players in the Gold Cup. I already mentioned that Julia Bianchi will be with Brazil. Um, you'll be able to watch them on the 21st as well. But the day that this episode will come out will be the day that the US plays in their first match of the tournament against the Dominican Republic, who won that first preliminary match to make it into the group stages. So make sure you're watching that tonight at 9:15 Central Time on Paramount Plus as well. Maybe we'll get to see Alyssa in goal, see another Red Star in the Gold Cup. Mal's also in training with the U.S. Women's National Team, but she won't see any minutes in these matches. But seeing Mal in training, though, has kind of been a breath of fresh air. I love, kind of seeing her smiling and having fun again, playing the sport that she loves. It's just like I don't need to see her get minutes for me to be excited about her just being in training.
Just saving that for the first Red Stars game day.
Yeah, I said that last week. I just kind of selfishly, I just want her to be in the Red Stars kit running out there for the first time. So, yeah, but it's cool. It's nice to see her playing soccer again, even though we haven't seen her in a real match yet. So I thought we'd end the episode just kind of discussing a little bit about the roster as a whole. At the time of this recording, the club has 25 players under contract. This is kind of just a review, just in case people kind of forgot. But we have 5 unsigned draftees, 8 unsigned non-roster invitees. That number 8 could be smaller depending on who's still in camp. The last time we saw like a big team photo, it seemed like there were a couple of them missing. So it might not be 8 anymore. It might be 7 or 6. Anyway, that's a total of 38 players unofficially. That needs to be cut down to 32 by February 26th and down to 26 by March 13th. February 26th will be after we record our next episode. So we'll kind of see if things change prior to that deadline, or if that deadline will be where we're going to have these discussions. But the club currently has 3 rostered goalkeepers in a solid goalkeeper union. So I think it's safe to say that that's kind of the 3 that are going to be there. Don't you agree?
Yeah, we're good with GKs.
Yeah, for sure. They have 8 rostered defenders, which is a good number to have. That's 8 or 9 is kind of the standard, but I just keep thinking about players like Hannah Anderson or Amber Brooks or even Celia Gaynor that could be knocking on the door for a contract. Either one of them. So I'm curious kind of what that defender group will kind of look like once the roster kind of gets finalized.
Be a fly on the wall during these conversations, I think, would be super, super interesting. Because it's not an easy decision at all. And I don't envy them having to make that decision.
Yeah. And we have 9 rostered midfielders. Another good number to have, but kind of 2 young, promising draftees. Leilani Nesbeth, B. Franklin, who have yet to be signed. I think Leilani is kind of the obvious choice for the club specifically, just based on how high they drafted her. I wouldn't expect them to cut her unless she really underperformed in camp. And I would just like to see B make this roster as well. I think she was a great player in college, and she seems to be doing well in camp from what we've seen, other than her eye injury. Well, I don't know what that was about. But there was no like non-roster invitees that were like true midfielders, from what I remember. So we'll kind of see if either of those 2 make the roster. And the club had 5 rostered forwards, which kind of seems like a small number, but more than a few of their midfielders can play forward and have professionally before. So the number isn't as thin as it looks, but there's a draftee waiting in the wings in Jamise Joseph. They're the NRIs who like Nadia Gomes, who has a great USL career. Ali Cook, who plays forward as well and played it well in college. It's just such a hard thing to figure out. And like you said, I don't envy the people making these roster decisions, because kind of how do you choose just one of those players to name in a 26 player roster with 25 already rostered? And how do you choose more than one of those names while cutting, releasing, waiving, whatever you want to call it, some of the players under contract, to kind of have that flexibility to get new blood into the club? It's not an impossible decision for me, but like I said last week, and like we said earlier in this episode, like, we're not in camp. We don't know, who's catching the eyes of these coaches, these GMs. I don't know who's outperforming who. I just know that, regardless, I'm going to be sad to see rookies not make the team, or players that are already on the team kind of get cut. when if it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, tough decisions all around, but I'm gonna be super excited for however many rookies make it, especially with the kind of squad depth that we have now for them to add to that. And we'll see if any of those rookies can potentially be starters. Again, Anderson or Nesbeth or whoever. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, we're not really used to this, are we?
No.
We're used to an off season of the last few years, just like, all right, we got new players in. They're signed almost immediately. They're either on the bench or they're starting. Let's get the season rolling. There's like nothing much to it. Now we're sitting here, 38 players. How do you whittle it down to 26? It's like, it's such a different mindset to be in as a fan, especially when kind of just on the, looming on the horizon is players who we've known for the last year or 2 or 3 could be cut. It's hard. It's hard to think about, but once the season gets going, like whoever makes this roster, I'll be really excited to see them play. And obviously we sit here and we talk about, a player, like wanting players to make the roster, but you don't see all 26 players throughout a season. It just never happens. So like, regardless of if they make the roster or not, then we're gonna just switch the conversation to which players should be getting more minutes and stuff.
And when it gets to that part, I'll be even more insufferable than I am right now.
Oh, well, yeah, I will as well, because then, like right now, we're kind of talking about like the unknown, but when it gets to that point, we'll actually have seen players play and know what they can bring, and we'll just, be our coaches on the couch, just yelling and screaming for players to get minutes who we want to
Come
see.
on, Lauren.
Yeah. What are you doing, Lauren?
We'll actually have subs during the right time this year, hopefully.
Wouldn't that just be lovely?
I think when that
Substitutions.
happens, I'll cry.
Man,
Tears of joy.
if I see a halftime sub in the first game, oh, what an experience that'll be.
Really made it.
I mean, halftime subs aren't like a very common thing in the NWSL in general. They're more common in other leagues, but I don't know. I think just switching up tactics doesn't always work. But we rarely ever saw halftime subs the last couple of years, so maybe we'll see some this time, or subs in general that aren't in the 89th minute.
Subs.
Subs. And speaking of subs, no. Subscribe. I don't know. We'll just wrap up there, because I thought that,
Time for the outro.
because now I'm just gonna tell you to subscribe. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you find your podcasts. If you want to see Grant and I discuss the club each and every week, you can watch us on the Red Stars Report YouTube page. Subscribe to our show wherever you watch and listen. Turn on the notifications so you can just see whenever our new episodes go up. They're typically Tuesday mornings. But if they're not, at least you'll be notified when I randomly upload an episode. Make sure you're following us at Red Stars Report on all of our social media channels to keep up with the latest news between our episodes. You can join our Discord community and chat with us and others in the community each and every day about both the Red Stars and things that are happening around the rest of the soccer world. You can just click the invite in the description, or you can scan the QR code if you're watching on YouTube. The next time you'll see us, the first roster cut will have been made. So we'll see how this roster is shaking out as we head towards the start of the season in March. And with that, I'll see you, and Grant will see you for the next episode of Red Stars Report.